Hey everyone, and welcome to At My Best Wellness. My company strives to figure out ways to help you and your loved ones and your family and your friends and acquaintances figure out ways to be at your best every day so that you can live the fullest life possible. This week is a little bit unique for me because I have decided to start a series on asking other people how they're at their best and how they've been able to achieve or accomplish great things being in their best capacity. And this is a really special week for me because this is the first time I'm doing this, and it just happens to be the week that we are going to be celebrating the life of my grandfather, Montford Fischer, who passed away recently, and we are about to be in Arizona celebrating his life. And I am wearing, actually, probably the only time you will see me in Michigan memorabilia, but I'm wearing this shirt of my grandfather's that he wore quite a few times when I was over at their house, watching Michigan games, of course cheering for Ohio State Buckeyes, but supporting my grandpa nonetheless with his love of Michigan. And it was just a really special thing for me to have this on. My mom had given me my grandfather's cologne, Aramis, just because I love the smell of my grandfather. And so when I'm really missing him, I take a look at this shirt and I take a look at that cologne and smell the cologne and I just think of my grandfather. So this is a unique video because my grandfather obviously is not with us anymore. But I got him for so many years that I wanted to be able to pass on 8 of the life lessons from a legend. And he really was a legend in our family, in so many other people's lives. Those people he met in the grocery store, those he met in the hardware store, which was one of his favorite places, at church, with his family, with his friends, with people at the airport. You just saw his charisma everywhere he went because he always took a vested interest in other people. And so I wanted to share with you 8 of his lessons that he taught me in the hope that it helps you and inspire you to be at your best today. So lesson number 1, life is better together. We saw this with my grandfather, the way he was with my grandma. They dressed alike, and I mean alike, like identical twins sometimes will dress, ever since he and my grandmother were on their honeymoon 72 years ago. And so often for church or special occasions, or sometimes just every day, they would literally match back and forth, and they just did everything together. And it was a very special relationship because as they grew older, they just kept saying that they were more in love after 60 and 70 years of marriage than they were when they first met so many years ago. So life is better together. Number 2, live with generosity. My grandpa was one of the most generous people I have ever known, and he showed that in different ways throughout my entire upbringing. One of the ways that he expressed his generosity was through taking 11 of us on trips every summer for a number of years, and we got to go to just really unique places. We went to Fiji and France and the BVI and a dude ranch in Montana and Tahiti and all these places that we just have cherished memories because our grandparents felt that it was important to live life together and to create memories with one another. And they paid for all of these trips for us. And it was an incredible opportunity because their look was we could experience life together or they could leave us more of an inheritance. And I think without question, all of us just jumped on the opportunity to spend time with one another. And I think even today, that's why my extended family and I are so close, because my grandparents valued relationships and they valued the time that we had together to invest in one another. Life lesson number 3, pursue your dreams with gratitude, intention, and courage. My grandfather was a World War II vet and was only 21, 22 when he served. And he had so many missions with his crew, and he brought back every single member of his crew. And actually, my grandfather was the last remaining crew member until he passed earlier this year. And I just watched him pursue his dreams later in life in establishing a church in Fountain Hills, Arizona. And earlier in life, before I was born, he and his brother Bill created an amazing commuter airline, Fischer Brothers Aviation, out in near Galion, Ohio. And just amazing courage and conviction. But they always had gratitude for what they had, whether it was a little bit or a lot. They just fully lived life with gratitude. Life lesson number 4. Serve others and see what is good in them, always finding ways to encourage them. This was what my grandfather did, and this was really when he was at his best, was just being in his presence and being around people he knew or did not know. He just genuinely wanted to learn about other people and how they were and how their families were, and he just had a remarkable memory for what was important to other people. And that was an incredible lesson for all of us to learn and practice as we got older, because he opened our eyes to other cultures, other countries, other ways of being and living. And it just has enabled all of us, my cousins and I in particular, to just grow in that way and always show an interest in other people. Life lesson number 5, love fully. My grandparents were married for 72 loving years. They just treasured one another. And I watched how he loved my grandmother. I watched how he loved his family and how special and unique his relationships were with all of us grandkids. You know, there were 6 of us growing up, and then through marriage, there's now 11 of us that are Grandpa always considered his grandkids. And it didn't matter if you were born into the family or you married into the family. He loved you the same. And that is just the type of love that I hope at some point I can achieve in my life, where he just loved without judgment. He loved us wherever we were, whether we were messing up at that point in our life or whether we were following a straight and narrow path. We just knew that Grandpa would love us through and through. And it was just such an amazing gift that he shared with us. Life lesson number 6, speak belief into other people. You know, so often when we're going through life, we have doubts and uncertainties in who we are and our gifts and abilities and what we can share with others. But my grandpa always spoke belief into me and into those I know. And it was just, he was one of those people where you just felt better for being around him. And he was just amazing. I smile just thinking about him because I treasured my time with my grandparents. And my grandpa just always believed in me and believed in my potential, even when I didn't believe in myself. Life lesson number 7, have fun. I will tell you, my grandpa had this amazing big belly laugh that his stomach would just bounce up and down when he laughed hard. And it was a silent laugh. So he would just laugh silently and it would just get all the rest of us laughing as well. And when I was younger, and actually up until a couple years ago, I remember I'd sit on the couch next to him and I'd just rest my ear against his belly and it would just crack me up when he would laugh because his tummy would bounce, my head would bounce, and I just have so many amazing memories of laughing with my grandfather. He always was a little bit mischievous and always had a good-natured humor about him, always kind in his humor, but so funny. And one of the things that he so enjoyed was treating his grandkids and his family to dessert. My grandparents had 4 to 5 flavors of ice cream at all times to give us variety, of course. And I just remember every trip we've ever been on, every place we've ever gone. One of the first places that Grandpa looked for was a place to get ice cream. He figured he made 95 years because he had a bowl full of ice cream every day, and well, you can't fault him for that. So that's lesson number 7. Lesson number 8, from my grandfather, living out his faith and his love of Christ was the center stone of who he was. And he just learned how to live for Christ to everyone that God put before his path. He just treated everyone with kindness, with respect, with dignity. And I just strive to be like my grandfather. I'm so far from that. My grandfather has big shoes to fill. But the thing about him is he never thought that about himself. He was one of the most humble men I've ever known. And I was so blessed to be able to have him in my life for so long. And so today, when you're seeing this, this video is coming out right around the time that we're going to be celebrating his life, when we are going to have a military flag ceremony to honor his service in World War II. And I get choked up and a little emotional just missing my grandfather, but also being able to celebrate that he is with his brother now. He's with his parents. He's with so many of our loved ones up in heaven, and just living fully with the God that he served his entire life. And so I made this video not sure who would watch it, but quite honestly, I made it because I wanted to honor my grandfather. Because if I picture anybody who is at their best and lives the motto of what I am trying to achieve daily and what I'm trying to achieve through my business, it's my grandfather. And he was an incredible man. So he was at his best and lived his life fully. For those of you who knew him, you know it was an honor and a privilege to know him. And for those of you who didn't, who are watching this, I just hope that these life lessons can encourage you and help you believe in yourself and your abilities. Because I know if my grandfather were here right now, he would be doing that with you. Take care.